Good morning, Ashish. How are you doing?
Morning, Said. I'm very good. How are you doing?
I'm excited to talk to you. I've been looking forward to talk to you for
Same here.
many
And I'm
months.
a bit nervous because this is my first interview like this.
I should be nervous to talk to you so that I show you in the best light possible all the interesting things that you do. So,
Thank you.
all right. I know you because I've been following your blog. I really like your blog.
Mhm.
Super simple, super practical, and but you do a lot of other things besides the blog. And so I would really appreciate if you could tell us about yourself.
Yeah, okay. So now I'm an independent Salesforce architect, trainer, and consultant. Overall, I have about 25 years of experience in information technology, but the first 12 years were in Oracle technology. So I worked as a database administrator and ERP administrator. And for last 11, 12 years, then I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem. Worked across different geographies like India, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Canada, US, and UK. And I've been mainly in client facing consulting roles. So started as a consultant, then moved on to solution architect, technical architect. And then my last employment was with Salesforce in Singapore as a program architect.
Cool.
So
And
that's about it in brief.
you worked in the different countries in the client-facing role through Salesforce,
That's
or
right.
wow.
Yeah, it was mainly through Salesforce. Yeah, but I mean, I was in India and then I relocated to Singapore to join Panasonic. At that time, I was in Oracle technology,
Mhm.
and then I switched to Salesforce a little later.
Mm. Why did you choose to switch from Oracle to Salesforce?
Okay, that's an interesting journey actually. So what happened was I was working in Oracle technologies as a database administrator and ERP administrator, and then in 2008, I sort of got bored with my job. It was the monotonous job, routine work like applying patches, maintaining the database, doing backup, troubleshooting. So why I wanted to try something different, and then I started my own training and consulting company on Oracle technology. And I thought of like having an internet-based business where I can serve the clients from any country. I didn't want any geographical limitation. Now, to manage my leads and opportunities, I started using Salesforce as an end user. And if I remember correctly, I think at that time the starting subscription was for $5 per user per month for Salesforce. It was a personal
$5?
edition, $5. Yes, that's right.
Salesforce
It was
subscription, $5 per user per month?
that is right. That was way back in 2008. I think they called it personal edition or something like that. It was yeah, very, very cheap. So I've always been a technology person. I enjoyed working on Salesforce as an end user. I used to create leads, create opportunities, and then I was also monitoring all the Salesforce features and functionalities that they were coming up with. The whole concept of coming up with a new release every couple of months was very new to me. And then all those features and functionalities were just made available to you without you doing anything or without you having to pay anything extra. And I think around that time, again, my memory is a bit vague right now, but Salesforce come up with the concept of chatter. And when I heard about chatter, when I saw chatter, it was for me like, a wow, makes so much sense. So I was able to chat on a record. So I have records like leads, opportunities, contacts, accounts, but then any unstructured data I could just enter in chatter. So that made a lot of sense to me. And I, at that time, since I started my own, I was a single person company. I also used other cloud technologies like Amazon Web Services. I was using Google Apps for my email. And whole cost to me, my monthly cost was less than $50 US. So despite being a single person company, I was able to use the best of the technologies. The whole concept made a lot of sense. And I thought, okay, so it's time to move to cloud technology. And then within cloud, I liked Salesforce best. So I moved to Salesforce. That's how it started.
Wow, fascinating. And what are the different cloud technologies that you work with? You mentioned AWS,
I worked with AWS, yes. So that time I was doing training on Oracle technology, and then I created a server for my participants or my training students on AWS. So that was one thing, and then I used Google Apps. The now it's called Google Workplace, I think, but that at that time it was Google Apps. So I had my email server on Google.
And you chose Salesforce above all.
I chose Salesforce. So when I started and when I was just exploring these cloud technologies, I actually started offering consulting and training in all these three technologies: Salesforce, AWS, and Google App. But then I think it became quite difficult to manage. So if a client is asking for AWS, then I will go and research into AWS. If somebody asks for Salesforce, then I will go and research into Salesforce. So I was spreading myself too thin, and I thought that's not going to work in the long run. So I better choose a technology, have deep expertise in that, and then stick to that. And I like, I mean, to be honest, I like the concept of chatter so much that I thought, okay, Salesforce is the technology I need to go with.
That was a good idea.
Yeah.
Whoever from Salesforce came up with the chatter. Ashish
I think
Agarwal.
it was Mark Benioff, and from what I remember, what I heard that time was this chatter project was delayed by probably 2 years, and Mark Benioff was not very happy about it. But ultimately, when it was launched, it made a lot of sense to me.
Wow, amazing. But you were one-person shop. Why do you need chatter? Who do you chat with?
Okay, very good question. I was a one-person shop. I didn't have anyone to chat with. It's just that I like the concept so much.
Or just like
Yeah, I like the concept. And again, like I mentioned, so every few months, Salesforce was coming up with new features and functionalities. And I mean, I was falling in love again and again with all those new features and functionalities. I mean, imagine, so I was working on Oracle technology, and if you need to upgrade from one Oracle database to another, you have to pay a whole lot of money and you have to do the installation. It was a different ballgame altogether. With Salesforce, every few months, new features and functionalities is just available to me without me doing anything or paying anything extra. It was a wonderful concept at that time.
Interesting. And this was around 2008.
Yeah, I started my business in 2008. So around 2008, 2009, over those, I think, 1 or 2 years, I was looking at Salesforce and trying out all the different new features and functionalities.
Cool. And from this, at what point did you decide to start your amazing blog?
Switch to Salesforce? Sorry, what's the question?
At what point did you decide to write a blog, Salesforce blog?
Okay, I think I started blogging in 2010, 11, around that time. I don't remember the exact time. But at that time, I mean, I didn't have any particular reason to come up with a blog. I think it was just the in thing. I heard about blogging. I thought, okay, I should also blog. Many people are blogging. And my blog posts were very, very erratic. So like one blog post, and after that, 2, 3 months, there is no blog post. And then again, I'll wake up all of a sudden and write another blog post. I started blogging more regularly from 2005, 2006, and then very regularly from 2018 onwards. So I've been blogging for 10 years, but over the last couple of years only, I've become much more regular and serious about it.
And why did you start blogging? Weren't you busy already with your training, consulting?
Yeah, so that's another good question, and I have a couple of reasons, but I think the first reason was that I'm a technology person, right? So I need to understand the topic well. If you ask me, like, if this can be done in a particular technology like Salesforce, I need to really understand that well. And one thing about blogging is because your blog is exposed to the public. So when you're writing or blogging about a topic, you really need to understand it well. And for that, you need to try it out yourself. You need to read articles. You need to do your own R&D. You can't just publish something which is not properly checked or researched. And during the course of writing a blog post, you really become very, very familiar with the technology. So that was one reason. The second reason, I think what I love about blogging was getting feedback from the people. So when I started blogging, I started receiving feedback, and then There were all kinds of feedback, and they all were very, very appreciative.
Mhm.
They were getting benefited, and they were expressing their gratitude. So if you look at the testimonials on my blog, just going through these testimonials cheer me up, especially when I'm in a low mood. So it gives you satisfaction. First of all, you are understanding the technology well, you are understanding a particular topic well, and then you are helping others.
Yeah.
And of course, then there are other benefits like it establishes your credibility. So in the Salesforce ecosystem, if you want to establish your credibility, blog is one of the good ways to do that. People recognize you as a subject matter expert. And then I think after some time, then I started thinking like, okay, so the blog is doing well. So maybe this can be option for me to become an internet entrepreneur or a blogpreneur, so to speak.
Mm,
So it evolved like that.
cool. So I really like your blog because I've been your subscriber, reader for at least 2 years, and
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate that.
I really like getting your newsletter about here's a
Okay.
new thing I did. I'm like, amazing. I wish I had a need for this specific thing right now at work because I would know exactly how to set it up. Like you had a
Right.
step by step for setting up SMS, I think,
Right.
Salesforce, and there are a lot of such good things. So I would love our viewers to get familiar with your blog because there is a lot that they can take from it for their job. And could you give us a tour of your blog, please?
Okay, sure. So, okay, let me share my screen and let me know when you can see it. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes,
And is it showing the blog?
yes.
Okay, so this is my blog. The URL is asagarwal.com. Now on the home page, what you see is a blog, which is usually, so my blog posts are usually step-by-step guide. Now the whole concept of step-by-step guide is what otherwise you will take days and weeks to learn. I provide it in a very detailed manner, script, step-by-step with screenshots, and it will not take more than maybe 30, 45, or 60 minutes for you to try out a different topic. So just recently, I published this blog like step-by-step guide to creating record triggered flow in Salesforce. And it is a step-by-step guide. So if I go to that particular blog post, what you're going to see is a little bit of description about this topic. And then you are going to see a Google slide, a presentation. This will this will tell you exactly what you're going to get in this guide. And if you want to download it, then you can fill this form and a PDF copy of this will be emailed to you. You can download it and keep it with yourself. So that's about the blog. It is usually step-by-step guide and I try to publish one every week. Then the other thing is 1 minute tip. So this is something that you can just go through in 1 minute. This is about something interesting happening in Salesforce world. It can be a new feature, a new functionality. Maybe Salesforce has bought a new company or they are launching a new product. So that is what you're going to see in 1 minute tips. I have created a resource section. Now, when you're working on a Salesforce project, so other than using Salesforce technology, you also need to use different technologies. So for example, how do you document your solution design or technical design? There are online documentation tools. How do you manage your Salesforce project? How do you capture user requirements? Then there are web conferencing tools, collaboration tools, whiteboarding tools. And at some point in time, I needed all these tools, but every time it was like I need to find out what is the best tool to use for a specific purpose. So I thought, why not I create a resource like this? I went through various, so I did a Google search on various tools specific to a particular topic, referred to a few sites that, there are sites like that says top 10 tools for web conferencing or top 10 tools for, let's say, mind mapping tools. So I referred to those sites and then I selected the tools that were appearing in most of those sites. So I think this is one thing that can be very useful for the readers or the viewers. Then I have how-to guides. So whatever blog that I publish every week, this is where you can see a list of all these step-by-step guides. So as you can see, I've published quite a lot of step-by-step guides. As of now, it is focusing more on the declarative features, configuration features of Salesforce, but I'll be adding more customization features. So something like how do you create a Lightning Web Component from scratch? If you have never used LWC or if you have never created LWC, how do you get started from scratch? And then these are the testimonials that I was talking about. People can submit feedback to me. If they have any suggestion, comments, they can write to me here. And again, I am using a Salesforce org myself. So when somebody submits this form, it gets created as a case in Salesforce org. And then I look at that case, and depending on the question, I respond to people or take action. And I also mentioned that slowly I started thinking about being a full-time internet entrepreneur. So I've started with like FSC training. Now FSC is Financial Services Cloud. So now Salesforce has come up with various industry products, right? So what I want to focus on is Financial Services Cloud. And so I'm offering FSC training. Then I believe in Salesforce's 1-1-1 model. So I have a pro bono plan also. If there is any nonprofit organization, if they need any help with their Salesforce implementation, they can reach out to me. People can subscribe to the weekly newsletter, and then a little bit about myself. And now that I am an independent architect, consultant, and trainer, then I do offer some services that people can take a look at and engage with me if they want. One of the things that I also want to highlight is the whole reason why I got attracted towards Salesforce was the new features and functionalities that they were coming up with every couple of months. And I think my challenge at that time and for many years was how do I learn about these new features and functionalities? You have, of course, the release guide, the release notes, which is like 400-500-page document. You start reading, and after 30-40 minutes, your brain starts to shut down. So what I did was I created a 1-day, 1-tip, 1-minute email, meaning that every day I'm going to send you an email that will take 1 minute of your time to read, and you will get to know about one new feature. So usually this is spread over like 50-60 days, depending on how many features are there. I review those features multiple times to make sure that it will make sense to include in this email newsletter. And this is something that, again, people have appreciated quite a lot. We are so busy in our day-to-day life that we don't really get time to learn about these new features and functionalities. So this is just an easier way to do that.
Wow, amazing.
So that's about it in brief.
Amazing. So first of all, everyone, please subscribe, or you must subscribe if you want to get access to amazing content, especially the step-by-step guides. Yeah, I haven't seen anyone else prepare such step-by-step guides, and I've used a couple of them. They're super easy, super clear. As Ashish mentioned,
Thank you, Said.
he puts in weeks of his time to prepare them, and for you,
Yep. It does take a lot of time. It does take a lot of effort. But to be honest, then because I was doing a regular day job also, so about 2 years back, then I hired a person, or I added a team member full time, and then with him onboarding, and what he does is, so I come up with a topic, we come up with the what are the things that we are going to cover,
mhm,
and then he helps me in creating these guides. So that's how I'm able to be a bit more regular about publishing my blog posts.
also, yeah, and I haven't seen this before, but this 1 day tip, 1 minute is, I think, highly needed because the release notes are so hard to
So
understand.
big, yeah.
So
It
if
takes
I,
a lot of time.
how do you send out these emails? 1 day, one. Are you also using Marketing Cloud or Pardot?
No, so I can't afford Marketing Cloud, to be honest. I'm just a single person company. Marketing Cloud is too expensive. But I use a tool called ConvertKit. That's an email marketing tool. And you can set it up in that way that whenever someone subscribes, they are going to receive first email, and then you can define the frequency at which they are going to receive subsequent emails. So when somebody subscribes to this, they receive a first email immediately, and then every day they are going to receive one more email.
Awesome.
So that's the benefit of using a tool like ConvertKit.
Cool. Even if you charge me $5, I would still subscribe. Maybe you can consider,
Okay.
because this is really good
Yeah.
value you prepared. For every release, you have to prepare new emails, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I have to go through multiple rounds of reviews because every new feature and functionality, they come up with hundreds of features, and not every feature will be that exciting for people to know about.
Mhm.
So I do like 3 or 4 rounds of review to select what are the features and functionalities that I need to include in this email.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much, Ashish, for a tour of your blog.
My pleasure.
All right. Next thing I'd like to talk about is you've been in Salesforce space for a while. Yeah.
Mhm.
In a lot of different companies, a lot of different countries, and your last role was with Salesforce itself, with the mothership. And,
That's right. Yeah.
and can you tell us about your last role? You were a program architect, right? And
Yes, I was a program architect with Salesforce in Singapore. Yeah.
what is a program architect? I see job openings with program architect. I see job titles of program architect, but I don't understand. Is it a technical architect? Is it a developer role? Uh,
Okay, so program architect is first of all, and it will surprise you that it's mainly an advisory role, meaning that program architects in Salesforce definition, they are not supposed to deliver anything. It's an advisory role, and what program architects do is they recommend. First of all, program architects are so any company who is doing a Salesforce implementation, it's a large complex implementation. They should have a program architect. What a program architect does is it ensures that you are using the Salesforce in the best possible way. You are leveraging on the capabilities of technology. Let's say you are following the best practices. You make sure that your solution will be scalable, secure, maintainable, performant. You're not making any suboptimal design choices. You're not incurring any technical debt. Now, what is program architect? So it's a role that requires breadth and depth of the knowledge, right? So breadth of knowledge about the enterprise architecture in general. You need to be familiar with like single sign-on, integration, mobile app, DevOps, and then you also need to have the depth of knowledge in Salesforce in particular. So you need to know about what are the things that you can use Salesforce for. You need to know whether you should be doing it declaratively, whether you should be customizing it, or you should be using a third-party solution. And you also need to know what are the things that will not be that for which Salesforce will not be the right technology. So you will have to suggest something off platform of Salesforce. So again, to recap, it's an advisory role. It is basically guiding the clients on how to use Salesforce in the best possible way.
so let's give us a basic scenario. So I'm like Coca-Cola Singapore. I'm trying to install Salesforce, uh, and then why would I hire you? I know already that I'm going to install Salesforce, and maybe I have some smart developers. And what problem do program architects solve?
Okay, so if you are implementing Salesforce, and again, first of all, program architect is something that people that clients usually hire for large complex implementation. So if you are Coca-Cola and if you are using Salesforce, let's say it's hundreds and thousands of users, it has complex integration, it has single sign-on. You want that the system should be scalable. What the program architect will do is they are going to understand your business objectives, and then they are going to advise you on what are the things that you need to be careful about. Now,
Mm,
integration just by itself, it can sound like a simple thing, but you need to know like for which particular integration requirement, what will be the best way to integrate. There are different technologies that Salesforce offers, whether it's an inbound integration or outbound integration.
mm,
So that is one area. Another area is like how do you keep your system secure? What are your security requirements? What are the enterprise standards that you want to enforce? And you make sure that whatever security that you are that is your requirement, how do you do it in the best possible way in Salesforce? DevOps, COE, and governance is another area where program architects advise the customers on what should be your governance model, what are the design and technical best practices and standards that you need to follow, and then how do you enforce that those things are followed. When you're going into implementation, the timelines are very, very aggressive. People are usually overburdened and they don't pay attention to these smaller things. So program architect, sort of in the advisory role, they guide you on what are the things that you need to do, that you need to take care of, that cannot be compromised on. I think the investment in program architect speaks for itself. You don't want to implement Salesforce in a suboptimal way and then incur the maintenance and administration overheads. Or after a couple of years, you realize that this system is no longer scalable. It cannot meet your business requirements. A program architect will help you ensure that you are not running into those issues. We don't only look at what you need currently, we also look at the future and how the system will be able to support you in future.
Wow, interesting.
Does that give you an idea about
Yeah, it gives
what?
me an idea.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, why we don't have a program architect in my company?
Okay. But it's expensive, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Like more expensive than developers?
Much more expensive, I'll say. Yeah, I mean, of course, I can't disclose the numbers, but yeah.
Wow. So I thought technical architect was at the top of the game. So is technical architect, what's the difference between technical architect and program architect?
So first of all, program architect is more of an advisory role, right? And again, I am talking more in the context of a Salesforce company itself.
Yes.
So program architects, they do not have a SOW, they do not deliver anything. It's more of an advisory role. Technical architect is probably as compared to program architect, is a little more hands-on in that sense.
So as a program architect, you like the guru, yeah, the Salesforce guru. You have to know a lot.
Well, I'm not sure if guru is the right term to describe that, but yes, you need to have the breadth and the depth of the knowledge.
Exactly.
You need to know about the enterprise architecture. So just having Salesforce knowledge is probably not sufficient. You need to know, for example, what are the different integration mechanisms out in the market. Maybe that's not available in Salesforce, but you need to know what are the different ways in which you can integrate Salesforce with other systems. What are the different single sign-on solutions? So you need to know about the governance and COE and DevOps model. Some of those things may touch Salesforce, but it may not touch Salesforce also.
So you'd have to know a lot about the technologies right now and the technologies that are coming up in the next, say, 5 years, right? That you have to prepare for.
You have to have an idea, yes, I'll say so.
So let's talk about what you think are the hot technologies, hot Salesforce technology in the coming 5 years. Like, let's say I'm a developer or a junior developer, and I would like to prepare myself, make sure that I'm still in demand in the coming 5 years. And I'm curious, what should I focus my learning on? Should I focus on Lightning Components or Einstein, or should I learn about Tableau? There's so many things in the Salesforce space that I should learn. Yeah, there are all these industry clouds, health cloud, and education, higher ed cloud. There's so many things I can think about, yeah, learn, but I don't know what to learn. And you as a program architect, you probably have good idea of what technologies are in demand and what technology will be still in demand in the coming years. Could you talk about that, please?
Okay, so first of all, my suggestion will be that don't try to learn everything. You have to, and again, that's just my opinion, but you have to focus on specific areas. And it will depend on what interests you. So if programming interests you, that is where you should go. If analytics interests you, you may want to learn Tableau. In my opinion, and what I think, I will not say that these are hot technologies. Probably everything will be hot in their own sense. But I think for me, what will make sense in Salesforce is first of all, Lightning Web Component. And the reason is that because it is still relatively new, not a lot of people know about Lightning Web Component. And Lightning Web Component is going to be the future of customization in Salesforce. So sooner or later, every company, whether they are using Visualforce pages or they are using Aura components, at some point in time in future, they will need to move to Lightning Web Component. And any new implementation, it should be done on Lightning Web Component. So if you talk about developers, Lightning Web Component will be a very good area to focus on. The other thing that personally I'm excited about is the artificial intelligence or Einstein. I think the whole artificial intelligence is becoming big in our work and personal life. I was reading a book by Mark Benioff. It's called Trailblazer, and I like the quote by Parker Harris. Let me just read that quote to you. So it says, AI will have more impact than the internet, and we are still in the first inning of this game. Now, coming from a person like Parker Harris, I think this makes a lot of sense, and I totally believe in that. AI is going to be the game changer in technology. Like computers, when computers came, that was a game changer. When internet came, that was a game changer. I think AI is going to be the next in the on those lines. And again, personally for me, so I think it will also be good to focus on one industry product, and that is mostly because I have been in client-facing role. I have uh, I have talked a lot to the clients about their business requirements. So personally, I would like to focus on financial services cloud in terms of an industry product. So my suggestion will be that don't try to master everything. Find what interests you. Of course, if you can, you need to learn. If you can learn about all the other technologies like level 1, level 2 knowledge, that's fine. Then you will be able to offer a complete solution. But you don't need to go deep in each and everything. You can select a few areas based on your interest and go really, really deep in that.
Mm, interesting. So, based on what you said, I think makes me happy that I'm improving my LWC skills and I'm building
Yeah,
out Lightning components right now. Uh,
yeah.
the
Yeah,
second thing,
if you're from a developer background, and if you're a developer, then Lightning Web Component is based on the industry standards. It's not that if you learn Lightning Web Component, you are stuck with Salesforce. It's an industry standard, so you can use it elsewhere also.
yep,
The concept, the knowledge.
yep, that's, and the second thing you mentioned is Einstein AI. So,
Yep.
how is that relevant to Salesforce? Where do you see this affecting the use of
Okay,
Salesforce?
so two things, right? So first of all, Salesforce is incorporating AI capabilities in its products. So like Sales Cloud, you have lead scoring, you have opportunity scoring. Now, you don't need to do anything for that because Salesforce has made it simple so that these recommendations are available to you. So that's one part. The other part is Salesforce also has, like, you can also do customizations in AI. So, for example, I think Einstein Vision is one of the areas where you can upload a few pictures, and then based on those pictures, the technology will recognize whether, so for example, if you upload like let's say 100 cat pictures and 100 dog pictures, the technology will recognize whether it's a cat or a dog based on that analysis. So those are the things. Recently, I think in Dreamforce last year, I saw something like the Einstein form reader, which means that if you just upload a PDF form to Salesforce, it is going to automatically extract the data and populate the custom objects. That makes a lot of sense. So these are the capabilities of AI, and we see AI all around us. Like whether you talk about this Uber or you talk about let's say Airbnb, AI is slowly it's changing the way we live and work.
So, if I want to prepare for the hot Salesforce technology coming up,
Mhm.
I want to learn about AI, what should I do?
So there is a AI. I'm not sure, but Salesforce has a page on artificial intelligence. It's not at the top of my head at this moment. I can share that with you later, but it will tell you like how can you upskill yourself in AI. It has different paths and different journeys that you can take. And Trailhead, of course, is one of the big things which has a lot of AI related modules.
Wow, amazing. And, thank you for sharing that idea. And I hope all of you guys look into AI. I don't know much about AI at all. And sometimes I think whether it's a fad or real, but it seems like
I don't think it's a fad. I think it is going to impact. It's going to impact everything ultimately.
mm, cool. All right. You mentioned Trailhead right now. Given how much you know and how much access to information you had working at Salesforce, you probably could use a lot of resources out there for your learning, but you still use Trailhead, right?
Mhm.
How important is Trailhead for your learning?
Okay, so I absolutely love Trailhead, first of all. I mean, in fact, so much so that sometimes when I feel overwhelmed, when I'm just confused what to do, what not to do, I just go to Trailhead and earn badges. It's like a therapy for me, to be honest. Yeah, and then you have Trailhead Go. So like if you are out somewhere and if you have nothing to do, for example, you are waiting for someone, you can just go to Trailhead app and then do a couple of modules or a couple of badges there. So I absolutely love Trailhead. And I think the whole concept is very, very effective. First, for example, you have topics that are divided into modules and chapters. It is a bite-sized learning. You can complete it in a few minutes, and then you can take quiz at the end of it. You can answer those questions, and you will score points and badges. But Sayed, what I also liked about Trailhead was that it's not just focused on technology. So there are Trailhead modules on environment. There are Trailhead modules on equality. There are Trailhead modules on social issues. I'll give you an example. So I did a module on equality in on Trailhead, and where it mentioned that your marketing should be inclusive, meaning that in your marketing campaigns you should include people of different colors and races. And believe me, I had never thought about it like that before I did that module. That was an eye opener for me. So, of course, you learn technology, you learn about all the new features and functionalities, and then you also learn some of the other things outside of technology.
Yeah, actually,
So, I love Trailhead.
I was also surprised to see these non-technical topics in Trailhead, and I was wondering, is this something new that they're trying to teach? And I thought it interesting. And,
Yep, yep, yep. And some of those modules were quite interesting. You learn about environment, you can learn about how to reduce wastage, you
mm,
can learn about how equality is important, why it should be, what can you do about it.
mm,
Those are the things that you will probably not learn uh, elsewhere.
mhm, mhm. Okay, so just recently you were working at Salesforce. You've been there for what, 4 years, I think, right?
Yeah, I was with Salesforce Singapore for 4 years. Yeah, a little over 4 years.
And you had a very nice job, uh,
That's true.
very senior role,
Yeah,
and
okay.
but you left. And
Mhm.
could you talk about why would anyone leave Salesforce? Uh,
Okay, so I think it was an option. This was the hardest decision that I made in my career. The main reason for leaving Salesforce was that because I'm a blogger and then I wanted to monetize my blog. So I have been doing it for free for quite some years now, but I thought like this is also an opportunity where I can monetize my blog. And with my employment terms with Salesforce didn't allow me to do that. So I did reach out to the relevant department and I asked them that this is what I have in mind. But I think from Salesforce perspective, it will be a conflict of interest. If you have commercial interest elsewhere, then you will probably not be able to focus full time on your job. So I understood their point. So ultimately, it was for me whether I want to continue working with Salesforce or I want to give my dreams a shot. So I thought, okay, let me give it a shot. If it doesn't work, then I can always go back to Salesforce.
so what's your dream? To
So I want to be an internet entrepreneur, and my blog is going to be the main vehicle to drive that. As of now, if you ask me, like, have I figured it out? I haven't. I'm still in the process of doing that. I've been following a couple of internet entrepreneurs, not on Salesforce, not related to technology, but just general people who have become successful in setting up an internet business. So I'm still figuring that out.
who's your role model or
Role model in.
internet entrepreneur? Internet entrepreneur.
So I follow a couple of people. Like one is Pat Flynn. He has a website called smartpassiveincome.com. I started following him. Then there is another one, Marie Folio. Again, it's mariefolio.com. I also joined a course. So she has a program called B School, and she teaches how to become an internet entrepreneur. So I subscribe to that, following that. And then there is one more, Melissa Griffin. So these are the three people that I follow.
Also, so your goal is to. Do you know yet how you want to monetize? What do you want to monetize?
I know that there are different ways of monetizing. For example, once you have established your credibility, like for example, if you are publishing good contents on your blog, and if people are getting benefited, then you will establish a trust relationship with them. So you will establish your credibility. And after that, then you can come up with training programs, you can come up with workshops, you can come up with ebooks, you can get consulting assignments. There are many different ways, in fact. I mean, I think after following all these different internet entrepreneurs that I mentioned, I listed almost 15, 16 different ways to monetize your blog.
Yes, but which one would you want to focus on? Anyone you want to focus on in the nearest term?
Okay, so in the nearest in the nearest term, I think I'll take up a couple of consulting assignments because that is where it will keep the revenue coming. But I would like to focus more on the passive income stream. So it
Yes.
can be trainings and workshops. You can start with doing a live online training, and then you can get feedback from the people, fine tune it, and then you can offer this as a recorded training.
Right.
Ebook is one of the areas that I think will be quite good to capitalize on. And since I'm publishing step-by-step guides and I take feedback from the people. So when you download my guide, after 5 days, you're going to receive a survey, and it's all automated through Salesforce, where you can let me know, like, first of all, how will you rate that guide on a scale of 1 to 5? What did you like about that guide, and what do you think can be improved in that guide? So I've collected a lot of feedback on that, and I can incorporate that in my ebook whenever I'm going to publish my first paid ebook.
Awesome.
So ebook is a great area. Consulting in the short term, training and workshops. You can start with live online training and then move to recorded.
I thought you would mention also advertising on your website. Like,
Okay, so first of all, as of now, and again, never say never, but as of now, I don't advertise anything on my blog. I don't like it as of now. I can get sponsorships. So, for example, if somebody
exactly.
is willing to sponsor a particular blog post, I can do that. But we'll have to see what are the sponsorship terms. So I don't want to fill my blog with advertisements all over the place. I think that just reduces the value of the blog, and it is also distracting for the readers.
Mhm.
So that's not on my advertisements are not on my radar as of now, but you never know.
I was thinking just like Salesforce related advertisements, yeah, like interesting apps, um, like
Yes, you can do that. So you can definitely do that. You just need to find the right balance, I think. Yeah.
yeah.
You can't put advertisements all over your blog. Like every after every one paragraph, you have an advertisement. I mean, people do that, but personally, as of now, I am not in favor of that.
Mm. I like the idea of sponsorships. Like this step-by-step guide is being sponsored by
Yep.
Conga or something. And,
That is right. Yep, of course. And you can write a step-by-step guide. So I have written a post on Conga, step-by-step guide on Conga, step-by-step guide on DocuSign. It is not sponsored currently, but yeah, people have liked that. So
cool.
when I receive feedback, they say that it was very helpful for them.
So if anyone wants to sponsor Ashish's content or newsletter, please reach out to him. I think.
Yeah, why not?
All right. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about Singapore.
Mhm.
So you've lived for a while in Singapore. In in Singapore,
I've been in Singapore for last 20 years.
wow. And you've been a Salesforce professional in Singapore. And
No, so I came to Singapore. So I was working for Panasonic India, and
yes,
then they transferred me to Panasonic Singapore. At that time, I was working on Oracle technology,
yep,
and I came to Singapore in 2001. I started shifting to Salesforce from 2008, 9 onwards.
yep. You're probably one of the
Yeah,
early Salesforce people in Singapore, right? One of
probably. I don't know, to be honest. I
yeah.
think, see, I think Salesforce had an office here at that time, but I'm not sure actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Ashish, thank you so much for all the information about the technologies, about your blog, and your entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Seth, and I appreciate for having me here.
All right.